Well, it's great to be back in Parliament for another two-week sitting. It's another opportunity for the government to continue to roll out its considered and structured plan in order to make sure that we have a strong economy that's creating jobs and rewarding aspirations for Australians. There's a couple of important things on the agenda this week. First of all, we'll be locking in our bring forward of infrastructure funding, so we're pleased to work with the state and territories to bring forward $1.8 billion in infrastructure spending. This is about getting on with projects that get people home to their families sooner and safer, that create jobs and start to tackle the major congestion points around our nation. The second thing that we'll be doing is also continuing to support both our farmers as they tackle the ongoing drought and also those affected and are still fighting the bushfires around the country as well. And that includes immediate assistance payments for those who have been affected by the bushfires for both those individual people and those fire-affected communities. And finally, the government is looking forward to pressing forward, particularly in the Senate, with its Ensuring Integrity Bill. So this is a very important bill that puts in place strong safeguards to make sure that workers who are represented by unions can have confidence that they are being represented appropriately. $16.5 million in fines have been handed out by the federal courts for lawless and bullying and intimidatory behaviour by unions. That's unacceptable. It's obvious that the message isn't getting through, that unions are working in this unlawful behaviour into their business model, and the Ensuring Integrity Bill will make sure that that stops. Happy to take questions.
The government's been accused of worrying too much about unions when we've got Westpac I guess, involved in such a massive scandal. Do you think that's fair, that comparison?
Well, this is just an example of how Labor doesn't get it. They will use any excuse to try and defend the bullying and intimidatory behaviour of their union mates. What's particularly important is that the federal court has already handed out $16.5 million in fines to unions, but they're just building it into their business model. They think that bullying and intimidatory behaviour is acceptable. We on the government don't.
Do you think that there should be a bipartisan approach to China policy, given that in light of the recent allegations about interference in our parliament?
Well, I think in the Australian Parliament, you've got a parliament that is strongly supporting our national security agencies. We've put in a robust framework to make sure that we can fight foreign interference in our democracy, which is something that the whole parliament takes very seriously. And we'll continue to make sure that our security agencies are well resourced and up to the job, which I'm certain that they are.
Should the parties be working together on that?
Well, I think you're seeing an Australian Parliament that is already in lockstep in terms of supporting our security agencies to make sure that they can tackle foreign interference. They are well resourced. There is a strong framework that this government has put in place proactively and sometimes with the support of the Labor opposition as well to ensure that our security agencies can fight and tackle foreign interference.
How concerning are the recent reports?
We will not put up with foreign interference in our democracy, and you have seen that ASIO was already aware of these investigations, and that's because we've resourced them up to make sure that they are able to investigate these matters thoroughly. It's not appropriate to comment on individual ASIO investigations. These need to be worked through, but certainly we're pleased that ASIO are a tough cop on the beat.
Why isn't the government doing more to step in with the recent scandal at Westpac?
Well, ultimately this is a decision for the Westpac board, but on Westpac, I think certainly it's my expectation, and I think the government's as well, that Westpac needs to take a strong, hard look at themselves regarding this lack of oversight and these financial breaches. It's good to see that AUSTRAC has been a strong cop on the beat. That's what we've resourced them up to do. But Westpac need to explain to the Australian public and to their customers how these breaches occurred, who was responsible for the breaches, why they won't happen again, and what is going to be the recourse for those who were responsible, because it is an issue that is incredibly serious in terms of our financial oversight, and we expect Westpac to respond strongly. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Cheers.